Hey there, I'm your host, Tisha Michelle, and welcome to #Certified, where you will leave enlightened, empowered, and inspired to live a life of authenticity. Let's go. Welcome back to #Certified. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. I remember years ago watching the Casey Anthony trial, and I remember sitting in my room crying, saying, where was the voice for the child? Why didn't anyone protect her? That led me to work with the organization CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates, so I could become the voice for children, which is what led me to meet today's guest, Tatiana. There's so many families with secrets of child molestation, and nobody wants to talk about it or do anything to protect the children. Don't get me wrong, I know there are people who do. And I also know it's more common for people to keep the secret. Then there is a child left with trauma, a wounded inner child, and left to heal on their own. Today's guest, I like to call a powerful being. Join me in the conversation with Tatiana.
Hello.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
But yeah, so I definitely think that it is very, very important just to give a little background history. I want to start with you just explaining like how we met and the role that we're playing with each other.
Okay. So I currently work in mental health with adults and children who have various mental health diagnoses. And we actually met on a case pertaining to a similar client that we have. And it was funny because I didn't plan on seeing this particular client nor the family. I just happened to pop in and you happened to be there. And it was all precise timing as far as me not even going to be at the home and me deciding, well, you know, what the heck? Let me just stop and pop in and see what's going on, forgetting that you were going to be there. And at the precise moment that I knock on the door, you and the client happen to be talking about me and talking about meditation and those type of things. And then from there, it kind of just catapulted and manifested into what it is now, which is a friendship and a big spiritual connection that grew so quickly. Like literally probably the first time we met, that pull was so strong to the point where I was like, well, we need to like get up. We need to go have lunch or something like this week. And I think no less than 2 or 3 days, we ended up going to Whole Foods and having lunch together and sitting outside talking. And from that point on, the rest is history.
Well, it was so funny because, like you said, when you were knocking on the door, me and the client were talking. But it was funny because that particular client was a little resistant because it was my first time meeting her and being into the situation. And so she was resistant. And I literally kept hearing spirit say, ask her if she meditate. And I'm like, no, she already told me she didn't want me talking to her child by itself and all that stuff or whatever. And just to put a little for the listeners to put a little more of that, I'm a CASA volunteer, so I basically am like the voice for the child in certain situations. So I'm there and I'm hearing spirit say, "Ask her if she meditate." This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And I'm like, mm-mm. So it's the louder and louder. So then finally I'm like, "Do you meditate?" And she's then her response that she goes into the whole her experience with meditation, and then I just start kind of just telling her whatever's coming to me, and that's when she was just like, oh, well then you were really like my case manager. And she's like, my case manager Tatiana. And then it's like knock knock knock. I'm like, wait, what's going on right now? And then she's like, who is it? And then you're like, Tatiana. I'm like, wait, what? What's happening right now? So like it was just so weird, but I knew that okay, be prepared because there's no such thing. My belief is there's no such thing as coincidence.
Absolutely.
And the way it all just happened, just perfectly. I was like, oh yeah, they got something really in store. I didn't know it was gonna go like this. I was like, okay, yeah, okay. So I just wanted to like add that part into there. But yeah, it's like the connection. It was just so deep and so fast, like you said, so quick. Where it's also a reminder personally for me that time is such an illusion, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we were talking the other day, and was like, hold on, how long have we known each other? How long has it been? We thinking it's like such a long time. I'm
Right.
like, dude, it's been like 2 months, 3 months or something. I don't even know. I don't even know. Okay, so did you explain the role? I know you said like the connection before I go into.
So I guess at this point right now, as our relationship, and for the listeners, I use relationship very loosely, meaning it can mean family, it can mean friends, it can mean romantic, but in this extent, it's a friendship that we've developed over a short period of time, where my spiritual growth has gotten, my vibration has gotten higher and higher with the extent of our friendship, and you being like a coach to me, a mentor, and teaching me things, because I was drawn to that about you, and not really having the background or other relationships with people that were in that similar space. Because sometimes when you start talking about these certain things, like even as basic as meditation, people are looking at you like, what is that, and how do I begin, and how do I start, or oh no, I don't do that, that's something else. And additionally from that, just you being an overall spiritual coach, and that pouring into our relationship, you being a hypnosis instructor, and that pouring into our relationship up until now, and you helping me through different family situations, different interpersonal situations through hypnosis, and me being able to release a lot of different things that we internalize and suppress, and we don't even realize it until that moment comes where you're in that hypnosis session and you're like, damn, I didn't even know I had all of that suppressed in me.
So I just want to let the listeners know how this whole podcast episode came about. Originally, me and Tatiana sat down to do a podcast episode over healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good. And I submitted it to do the editing, and they were like, the first 10-15 minutes was jacked up. Now I could hear the little clicking, but I thought it was just like maybe 2 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot longer. And she was just like, yeah, I really suggest you do this, record it over. So I'm like, okay. And I think this was right before I was going on the cruise. So I was like, dang, somebody don't want us to be great. You know what I mean? We trying to put this podcast out on healing. So I went on the cruise, and we got back, and we've talked and seen each other. We just hadn't recorded. So then we want to fast forward to most recently, I'm doing a hypnosis session on you. Actually, I think it probably started, it was a 2-part to it.
Yeah.
The day before, we were meeting and we were discussing some stuff, and there were some things that you were saying, and it was kind of like reoccurring, and you was like, I just want to be loved, I just want to feel like protected. And with you saying that, it hit me. It's your inner child is wounded and needs some healing, and needs to know that she's loved, that she's safe. And I suggested that's what we'll do on hypnosis session. So then we get into the session, and originally I was going to do one way, just kind of just feeding you some positive things and doing the reprogramming. But then it hit me and was like, no, we need to go down a little bit of a memory lane.
Right.
Where, I needed you to actually talk. I was going to ask you some things, because sometimes we don't know what's blocking us and what maybe like those patterns and those things are. And you kind of want to, not even kind of, you want to stand in the middle of the storm and face that situation and talk to your inner child. So as we're going through that, and, it's very emotional, and I'll let you go into that piece. But when it was over with and we were talking, it just hit me, and I was like, this is what we need to talk about. This needs to be the podcast episode. And I say that because, in which I've told you a couple of times, you also, yes, I mean, I've coached you and mentor you and stuff, but you also caused me to level up. Yeah. You brought out like working with some abilities that I didn't know that I had. And also it was seeing how strong you are to be facing the things that's happened to you and wanting to heal from it. And I said, wow, like that's power right there. And it'll take it back to the time that when we met and we went to go and eat at Whole Foods, and we were sitting outside, and I said to you, I didn't even know you. It was the second time seeing you, and I was like, you're a powerful being. And I didn't know what that meant, but I felt it and I knew, and I was like, you're powerful. And I didn't know in like what context and like how that was, but it's definitely unfolding. I'm like, damn.
I'm like, she's standing in the middle of this ish.
Yeah.
And she's like facing it, and not on some like tough girl emotional. I mean, there's tears and stuff and feeling it, but dealing with it. And I just thought that that was so powerful and courageous. And I was like, this is what we're meant to talk about on the podcast, because there's so many people who aren't facing their shadows. They're not facing the childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not like suppressing it and just burying it and burying it and burying it and thinking that they're okay. But as soon as that little trigger happens, they melt,
Yeah.
you know, and they're all over the place. But I was like, this is someone who was just standing in the middle of it and like, let's go. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to deal with this, you know. And then, like you said, remembering some things that you didn't even think maybe even played a part into it, but it did. Again, this is all part of the creating hashtag certified, like the podcast is, because I believe that there's power in your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally believe that we all have some sense of a responsibility to share our story so we can help people on a whole. So I definitely want you to take it and share as much as you want in regards to the childhood trauma that you suffered, which
Mm-hmm.
ultimately led you to having sessions with me to help you through the healing process.
Absolutely. So I'll begin with this. Me as a person, I have a very forward thinking approach and I like to attack things aggressively because the more time that we let pass, it gives us that okay to just let things slip by the wayside. And then it continues, those traumas continue to sink deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's harder for us to get out of our own ocean that we're drowning in. Secondly, to start off with my story, is that everyone has a family secret. Everyone. And I say that most confidently because there's always some type of issue that's going on within a family that people are afraid to say or even express themselves about. And that's operating from fear. And for me, my biggest family secret was me being molested since I was 5 from someone who was very close to my family. He happened to be the owner of a tribe family that my grandmother lived in, and he happened to live on the first floor, and he had other tenants throughout the other 2 floors, and my grandmother lived on the second floor. And since I was 5, he was grooming me. This man was grooming me to be what it is that he wanted me to be as far as a sexual partner to him. Since I was 5, he would do things as simple as giving me money, and I mean large amounts of money, $40 here, $60 here. And nobody seemed to question that, like, well, why does a 5-year-old have that much money? Or why is he giving her all these gifts? Why is he buying her all these toys? And nobody seemed to think, like, oh, this is strange because, again, this person is considered like family. He's been around for so long, even prior to me even being born. And so there was that level of comfortability, that level of like, this person is family. He's like an uncle and we respect him. And, throughout the years, I made different attempts to say what my secret was. And, I remember telling my grandmother one night, and she was watching this show that's called Sábado Gigante, which is it's a show where they do like a bunch of different dances and kids are on there singing and they have a bunch of different things that they show on there. And it was one of my favorite shows growing up as well. And he happened to be there as well. And they were drinking probably beer or something like that. And they were in the living room watching the show. And I remember him coming to the bathroom, and I happened to be in the bedroom next to the bathroom. And I was in there and I heard him coming, and I decided to hide within the closet because I knew that he was coming. And he came into the room and he's patting down the bed to look for me and hops on the bed. And I'm looking from the closet, watching him. And there was a little bit of fear of like, oh my gosh, like, what is he doing? Because mind you, he had been grooming me all this time, buying me gifts, and he was showing me magazines and videos of pornography and pictures and different sexual positions at a very young age to get to this very point of like, how do I engage a sexual act with this person, with this child that I've been grooming? And he notices I'm not in the room, so he's like, well, let me just go to the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom and he uses the bathroom. I hear the toilet flush, him wash his hands. I come out of the bedroom inside of the closet, and as soon as I come out, he's standing there stroking himself, and then ejaculates on the floor. Meanwhile, my grandmother is right around the corner in the living room watching TV. Now, as he gets himself together, I end up going to tell my grandmother while he's getting himself together. And I say, he's ejaculating. He attempted to touch me. And mind you, because she's been drinking, she's like, what? What are you talking about? Like that, like it's not making sense. So apparently I'm the one that's lying and I'm fabricating an entire story that's untrue. So that was one of the first times that I attempted to say, hey, this is going on. This is not okay. And I happened to be probably around 8 years old at that time when I tried to make my first confession. And even throughout all of my childhood, this was going on for several years. Even throughout my childhood, I made different attempts to say, hey, something is wrong. And it was in the way of where you kind of self-destruct or self-sabotage situations. So,
Mm-hmm.
in school, acting as though I can't read, but I really don't have a reading problem. I can read properly, but it was a way for me to get attention. Me accusing my parents of beating me terribly to get that attention, and then having to go through the process with social services and them do an investigation of like, oh, what is the family dynamic? What is going on? Why are these accusations coming about? These were all ways that I was trying to say, hey, there's a red flag. Look deeper into it on a subconscious level, because I had already said my truth and I was shut down. And so I held that so deep within me for all these years until I made another confession when I was about maybe 19 or 20. I made another confession and I confessed to my mom about everything that had happened throughout my childhood, and just said, I wish that you guys would have protected me. You guys would have been there, to shield me from this person, because there were red flags early on, even prior to me even being conceived or born. That was like, okay, there's something wrong with this guy. He's not right. And then having a child and knowing that she would be around this man, because at a certain point in time, I lived with my grandmother. I was with her all the time. And there was that accessibility that he had to me, which was like, okay, if you know that there's red flags about this man and there's certain things that he's doing that are inappropriate, then you shouldn't be around him. There shouldn't be like no possibility for you to be around him, because you're a child, you can't protect yourself. Even though that my elders were there, my grandparents and my uncles and my aunts and things like that. And now as I reflect back, it's so sickening to know that this is such a common narrative amongst families, because I've met people along this journey that have said, hey, I went through the same thing and this is my story. And it has to do with somebody who they know. It's not a random stranger. It's somebody that they know, who was an uncle or aunt or a close friend or a parent or a grandparent that was doing these things, molesting these children repeatedly over and over and over and over again. And then you have people that knew it was going on and they swept it under the rug, which is wrong as well. And then you have people that didn't know. And then when the child comes out and tries to say something, you forbid them from saying anything at all and sweep it up under the rug as well, which is terrible too. It's wrong. So I'm just like, I'm tired of trying to hold my breath and hold in the family secret, because who am I protecting? Who exactly am I
Oh,
trying to protect with me holding on to a secret? I have a story, and my story can help other people to be courageous and brave enough to say, hey, this happened to me and I have to heal. I have to heal from this situation. I have to deal with the inner child in me so that I can go into adulthood much stronger than what I am, because all of those things that happened in my childhood manifested throughout all the relationships that I had, even from a teenager, and all the understandings of like, this is what love looks like. I love you, but I'm going to molest you. I love you, but I'm going to bribe you. I love you, but I'm going to threaten you. And that's the level of toxicity that continued to happen throughout my life. And I had to sit down and be like, wait, why are these things happening? Why do my relationships look like this? Like this doesn't make sense. This is not what I want. But like attracts like. We're not going to attract things that are opposite of who we are. We're going to attract people that have the same experiences, who behave in the same manner, who have the same ideologies or subconscious understandings of what love is.
Absolutely. Which is going back to the session and taking you down that memory lane, and you so vividly going into the experience when he took you into the basement. And that's as you're telling that story to even confirmation, I guess, of even what you're saying with the things being a secret and people wanting. If someone walked in while he was doing this, you in the basement, and then you said she just walked back out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which again, everybody wants to keep everything a secret. And I know for me personally, like how you're saying things are coming up, it's come up a lot for me lately with whether it's clients or even people that I know, that children are being molested. And like you said, it's never, and I'm not gonna say never, but the majority, it's always someone that you know. It's not like, oh, breaking news. Like, no, it's someone that you know and that you trusted. Everybody just put their trust into it. And then going back to the part where you're saying that people don't want to say anything, and when they find out, they're like, oh no, that couldn't be, or they don't want to talk about it. And this is a big thing around fear.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that fear is outweighing the responsibility of protecting the children.
Yep.
And this fear is just based off of judgment. The family doesn't want people judging them and talking about them,
Yeah.
and they are so worried about that than actually protecting
Yep.
a child. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
I understand fear. I understand people judging your stuff, but at what point do you just stand up to it and say, not even standing up to it, you're just protecting a child. And this is like with CASA, what it is that I do on a volunteer basis for CASA is being the voice for the child, because sometimes the family is so blinded they can't even do the right thing and actually protect the child. And then you have to have like these different organizations to come in, but it's only so much that they can do,
Mm-hmm.
versus as a family member, it's like speak up so it doesn't happen again, because I'm pretty sure you weren't the first child that he did that to, and you weren't the last child.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer, if you are a family member or a friend or someone and you know that a child is being molested or was being molested, you do have a responsibility to say something to protect the next child. Because everybody that person has molested, after everyone was well aware of it and did nothing to it, like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have protected that child and stopped that from happening, but also helping that child that it was done to feel protected, which brings to your inner child.
Mm-hmm.
Your inner child does not feel protected. Your inner child does not feel loved. Honestly, and this came up in our session, we talked about, was that,
Mm-hmm.
do you even really know what love is?
Yep.
Because you've had so many mixed signals of it from a child with different things. And like you said, when we were talking about it, goes into manifesting into the relationships. And it's why you kept saying, I just want to be loved. I just want to be loved. I just want to be loved, because you don't feel loved at the same time. You don't even know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the power in hypnosis is because I was talking directly to your subconscious mind, and you were speaking straight from there. This is where there was no fear, there was no judgment, there was nothing. You were literally just being present and facing the shadow and facing those things and allowing all these things to come up. And as they come up in your session, do you remember when I asked you? I said, why did you go downstairs with him?
Mm.
And do you remember what you said?
I don't.
You know, you said because he gave you things
Oh.
and he gave
Mm-hmm.
you attention.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I said I wanted to explore with you next was, well, where did that come from that you felt you needed this attention?
Mm.
Going back further than, even before, 5 years old, like, where was it? Where was that belief system that was instilled into you that you weren't getting the attention?
Mm-hmm.
And that you weren't, like you said, he gave you money, he gave you things, and even though they weren't perceived as right, but it was like, hey, he's giving me attention. And that's very common. And that's how a lot of these people prey, and they're just predators.
Mm.
They look for like a weakness and give this child all this attention. And then things, of that sort happen there. But again, it's the power of hypnosis, is being able to trigger those things that you blocked out, but being able to allow them to come up so you can start the healing process. And I just think that you're so courageous for wanting to do it, doing it, and then out also speaking about it.
Mm. Yeah, I it took a lot to get to this place because literally right before we started this podcast or the episode for the podcast, I did a major release as far as like just writing all the things that I wish, like, I wish my parents were there. I wish they protected me. I wish they loved me. I wish they caught all these red flags. I wish. It's not going to take back all the things that happened to me from a young child. But I do believe that once you release those things, and it gives your parents or whoever had a hand involved in not protecting me, it gives them an opportunity to change that narrative, and it gives them an opportunity to right all the things that were wrong about that situation and say, you know what, I apologize for not being who I needed to be for you in that moment. I apologize for not being able to protect you, but let me now take the initiative to do those things. And if you get that bonus where it's like, your parents and anybody else who had a hand involved are going to take that step, that's great. But sometimes we don't even always get that. Sometimes it's just you need to release it and put it out there into the universe and just forgive them for any resentment that you may have had towards them or any guilt or anything. Just releasing that so that you can continue on to your path. Because ideally, the situation is all about me and understanding myself more, understanding my experiences. Because at the end of the day, as crazy as it might sound to some of the listeners, everything that we experience has already been chosen before we even get to this side, before our spirit
Absolutely.
even enters the human realm and the human body and the physical. All of these things were chosen. And so now I have to look like, damn, well, what is it that I went through in my past life that would make me choose to go through these particular experiences? Doesn't excuse the behavior, doesn't excuse the actions, but I'm also giving the other side of the coin, which is on a spiritual level of understanding that all of these experiences are meant to shape us to who we need to be, right? Everything that we experience is not like universe is out to get me, the universe hates me, the universe doesn't want to take care of me. It's like, no, in order for our spirit to evolve, to enlighten, we have to experience some very dark things because we're not going to
Absolutely.
understand the light without the dark. It just doesn't work that way. We're not going to have as much appreciation for the light without going through that darkness.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things too is forgiveness, is where we've chosen forgiveness. Well, how can you learn to be able to forgive without having to go through something that requires forgiveness, and knowing that forgiveness is for yourself. But the ultimate lesson that I believe for all of us is love,
Yeah.
is choosing love. How can you go through one of the darkest things in your life and then being able to look at the situation and choose love over fear, and understanding and compassion for the other person? Because for someone such as that man to do that to you, something's not right in him, like something is off. And to be able to, again, we're not giving passes to people in that aspect, but it's just to understand that something is wrong with this person.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong with this person. This person truly needs help. But if you can look at it from that standpoint and still being able to send that energy of love and healing to that person so they can be better, so they can, stop doing whatever it is, I think that's the ultimate of choosing love. And again, it's not to say that, oh, everybody gets a slap on the wrist. Like, I don't believe that at all. But at the same time, just being able to choose love for yourself and being able to send that energy to that person and then start to heal yourself. Because right now, if you don't choose love, like for you personally, if you don't choose love and you choose fear, you will stay trapped into it. You will continue to feel like you're not loved, even though you have great people around you that truly do love you, but you're not feeling it and seeing it because you're still holding on to this part. And when I say holding on to it, not like you need to just forget about it, but you're not healing and understanding what happened. who is that hurting?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not hurting the other person.
Yep.
You're the one who has to, live with this. But I want to go back to the guy. Has anything happened to him? Has anybody, is he in jail? Is he out? Like,
He's actually, he moved to Texas. He was living in Boston and he moved to Texas. As far as I know, he was dealing with some type of illness. I'm not exactly sure. The only reason that I know about where he is and the fact that he had an illness was because of my grandmother maintaining contact with him. To my knowledge, she's not still in contact with him, but I don't know anything else regarding him or his wife, his children, his family, nothing. It is in my plans to meet with him, and there will be an impromptu showing up at his address and addressing him about the things that he did to me to again release those things. And it's not anything for him, it's totally for me to say, you did these things to me. As a child, I didn't have any control. Now, as an adult, I have the control to take that power back, to not allow you to disrupt my peace, to not allow you to continue to control my inner child and the experiences that I have as a result of my inner child being so hurt. And so that's just more closure for me to just put the cap on a situation that happened umpteen years ago.
yeah. When you mentioned about wanting to like go and see him, I was all for it. I was like, absolutely go, because your soul knows what it needs. And yeah, it'll be impromptu, and who knows, maybe you'll say something, maybe you won't say anything, but whatever it is that does come out, that will be perfect. And it's all a part of your healing process. And I know that just even people, that cases I've been on and stuff like that, people don't want to see the person, they don't want to face it. And I know they don't want to face it out of fear. And they feel like if they face this person, then they're going to have to relive it, and they're going to have to think about it and stuff. And yeah, you will. You absolutely will. But that's the place where for your highest good, for the healing, is to be able to see that person, or somebody bring up that person's name, and it's not a trigger. It's no longer a trigger,
Mm-hmm.
because, like you said, you take that power back. Like, you'd absolutely take that power back. So I definitely want like our listeners to know, if you've experienced anything of this, one, take the power back and start the healing process. And you start the healing process by actually addressing the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And two, if you are one of these people who is keeping in this secret, to stop.
Yeah.
Like, no more secrets. No more secrets. Speak about it. Get the child help. Get the person help. Get that person help, and also help protect other children and stop that from happening. So you're doing hypnosis. We're working through that. We're working through you making your inner child feel loved again and
Mm-hmm.
feel protected. And one of the ways I suggested to you for that was to have fun.
Yeah.
You ask people, such as myself, or like you and other people, like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? And people will say, and I'm people, oh, I like to go to the movies. I like to go out to eat. And we're like, that's not fun,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of us have a hard time thinking of what do we like to do for fun, because we don't do anything for fun. And I would suggest to everyone listening is like, it's time for all of us to start playing, and all of us to start healing that inner child, whether you had childhood wounds of traumas such as abuse, or maybe it was emotional, maybe it was mental, maybe it was like physical, but we all have that inner child that needs that playtime.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, did you do anything
What did
yet?
I do? Well, I play with my daughter. She's about to be 2. So we did a lot of playtime, just running around the house and playing hide and seek. So I would say that's one thing that I did. But outside
Okay.
of that, I haven't done anything else. Well, no. Actually, a lot of laughter, a lot of joking, that as well. Not enough. I need some more of that. I need some more light.
And I'm gonna go back to my bubbles because that's like a really easy and simple way for everyone to do is to go to the store. You can go to the dollar store. I mean, they're not that great, but
Yeah.
you can go to the dollar store and just get some bubbles and just blow it. It's so basic,
Mhm.
sometimes it's boring, but at the same time, you're cracking up.
Yeah.
Just blowing bubbles, and that's a good way to bring in some of that light and basically tapping into that those childlike activities that in your case, were taken away from you.
Mhm.
How did you feel when you were doing so much of the journaling and the releasing? Journaling is one of my favorite it's how did you feel putting all that on paper and getting it out of like your head?
In the beginning, it was funny because I was just writing like a madman, like writing so fast and getting everything out because I had so many things in my mind and my fingers couldn't move fast enough. And then midway through, it started to get like teary eyed. And then I started just like real on crying, like heavy panting and everything. And then by the end, the mood of that changed because I ended it off with like peace and light. I'm better now. I understand that I'm just having a human experience right now. On the same side, I understand I'm a spiritual being and I have spiritual abilities, I have spiritual gifts. And the more that I go through this process, the more enlightened I become about all of my spiritual gifts and being able to tap into them and use them and help other people heal, which is another moving force that pushes me to be like, I need to go through this process because at the end, there's so much greater that's going to happen. So I didn't end off with like feeling regret or hate or disdain. I felt more lighthearted. And I said that too. I was like, I feel lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter with each stroke of this pen because I'm releasing everything that I have been holding on for years and years and years, subconsciously trying to protect those around me who didn't want to hear my story. When in fact, you should hear my story because you had a hand in not protecting me. And the least you can do is say, you know what, let me hear what happened. And now let me see how I can fix. How can I interject myself into the situation to be an agent of change?
That was so well said. You said, no, you do need to hear my story because you had a hand in not protecting me. That is one of the things, too, where just based off of experienced people that I know, as well as cases that I've worked, where when you talk to them, they don't want to talk about it because it's going to upset someone in the family.
Yeah.
And they're worried about how that person is going to feel. I don't want to make them mad, but yet you were the one who went through the abuse. You were the one who has to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, you're living with that your whole life. They can live with the fact of knowing what happened. So I think that was just very well said. And also again, it goes back to the power of you and being courageous and saying like, no, it's not about these individual people. It's about you. It's about your story and what it is that you went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just encourage so many more people just speak up.
Yeah,
There's just power in just speaking your truth.
absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree.
And I love the intention setting when you were writing, getting lighter and lighter with each stroke of pen. That's powerful itself. I said it intentions every day, but even with you putting that in your writing, like that's drilled into your subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the more that I write on here, the lighter that I'm gonna feel.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I'm feeling. So now what? Where do you go from here? We've shaken it up. We've dug deep. We can go deeper. Where do you go from here?
I still want to continue healing my inner child and understanding more about myself. Because the more I understand about my inner child, the more I'm able to connect the dots with things that are happening in my present life and how I can fix those things. Because ultimately, that's what I want to do is just be able to heal everything, fix everything, not going through a rush process, but going through the process and as long as it takes. And there's no time cap on that either. And continuing to encourage myself to share my story. I'm pretty sure after this thing lets out, I mean, shoot, I'll probably get like 1,000 calls or messages of just like, thank you for sharing your story and continuing to help others heal. through whatever process it is that they're going through. And in healing others, I'm able to heal myself and continue to learn things about myself, because there's a reason why I attract certain people, whether that just be relationships, friendships, people on the street. There's a reason why we attract those certain people. So just really just continuing to heal and just level up, continuing to elevate myself on an interpersonal level.
To evolve and grow,
Mhm.
which is the goal, is to evolve and grow. And yes, I'm healing as a process. There is no time frame on it. It's definitely, like I said, it's understanding what happened, facing it, facing the shadows,
Yeah.
facing the shadows, shining that light on that darkness. And that's why I really, really love like the power of hypnosis, because you get to, like I said, talk directly to the subconscious mind as well as reprogramming. And for the listeners, that's what I was doing in the sessions with Tatiana. She was facing it, and these things were coming up. And then as they were coming up, I was then talking to her subconscious mind and filling into her subconscious mind that she's safe,
Mhm.
she's loved, she's protected, all of those things. And do you remember doing it? And actually, when I asked you, what would you say to your inner child?
I
Do you
said,
remember
you are protected, you are loved, you are safe. And I kept repeating that over and over. It was very, very difficult to do in that process, because it
that?
was like I was holding my inner child. Like, just for the listeners, imagine yourself, you're holding a child's hand and it happens to be you, except your younger self. And it was like there was a white light that she was walking into, and I just wanted to hold on to her and say those three things: you are loved, you are protected, you are safe. And it was almost like it was harder for me to let go than it was for her, because she was like, you know what, I'm going to be okay, thank you, this was a great experience together, now I can go to where it is that I'm going, and I got the tools, I got the message that I needed, because I hadn't been hearing these things. And she walked off into the distance and was gone.
I'm getting chills going, back to sitting in the room with you and you saying it over and over. And I'm feeling it, just
Yeah.
feeling like the energy, from it, and just seeing like how powerful like you are and how powerful like that session is, and just like all the energy into it, that I'm feeling like the healing
Mhm.
myself. So you just gave me chills with it. It took me back to in there and stuff and all.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely end it again on you powerful girl.
Thank you.
Power. I'm telling you, man. You have me leveling. Oh, we not doing no script on here. No, I'm just trusting what spirit is giving me and saying to you. And it was just amazing. But and also it's working with you gives me like this whole another level of like, okay, I can believe in humanity a little bit more,
Mhm.
because you see like all these different things that's going on just in the world, or even in our personal world, and people that we're around. And then have someone such as yourself who's willing and want to deal with these personal things, but also help other people at the same time. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is power. This is strength. This
Yeah.
is courage. This is vulnerability. This is transparency. This is what it all looks like right here.
Mhm.
Like, this is what it all looks like when you are ready to protect yourself, when you're ready to love yourself. Like, you stand in the midst of all these things that, sometimes we allow the fear again of judgment, and we don't want to talk about it, or we don't want to shoot, we don't even want to deal with it within ourselves. Even if we don't tell nobody, you don't even
Yeah.
want to talk about it to yourself. You don't want to put it on a piece of paper, because what, that makes it real, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I have this person in here who's going through these motions and talking about it and saying these things, and I'm like, this is the ultimate power right here, and this is love, and this is
Mhm.
what love looks like right here. So
Absolutely.
again, you're dope, and you're my friend.
I'll just I'll leave the listeners with one last thing that's just on my mind right now is there's power in vulnerability. So choose to be vulnerable, because that allows you to take back the power that may have been stripped from you. And also understanding that we need to pull the veil back. We need to stop masking and putting on this persona of who we want to be, right? And we're not there yet, because we haven't dealt with all the other baggage that's preventing us from being our truest self. So pull the veil back, stop masking, and pull the mask off and be your true self. And I will leave you guys with that.
Authenticity at its finest. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Hashtag Certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the Hashtag Certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in Hashtag Certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.